joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Hope everybody's having a great week. Sports Shorts presented by LeBear's Casino. On today's show, we're going to get into the LSU baseball coaching staff. It's pretty much been finalized. The two main paid positions by the university, pitching coach, also the recruiting coordinator. That's been locked up. We'll tell you who they are. Give Tommy and I'll give you your thoughts on Jason Kelly, the pitching coach, and Dan Fitzgerald, the recruiting coordinator. Also, we'll kind of play the guessing game on the volunteer assistant who's coming. I don't think it's much of a guessing game, but it has not been announced officially. Also, the Phoenix Suns going for their second win in the series. They play game 2 tonight. They're a 5-point favorite against the Bucks. We'll get into that series. Also, Phoenix was a 6-point favorite in game 1. They did cover, by the way, that game. Also, the NHL, the Tampa Bay Lightning win the Stanley Cup for the second time in a row. They did so back in 2019. They've done again in 2021. Remember, there was no cup during the COVID 2020 year. Here's my question. Does anybody care? Does anybody care that outside of Tampa that the Tampa Bay Lightning won the NHL? You know, and if the hockey isn't the fourth major sport, what is? We'll get into that and a whole lot more. Don't go anywhere. Sports Shorts will roll on thanks to LeBear's Casino right after this.
Every great story starts with the rush of thrilling gaming action. Handcrafted flavors, eager to please. Getaways for some well-deserved me time. And rewards worth bragging about. If it's a story worth telling, it starts at LeBear's Baton Rouge. What's your story?
Tommy Krysan joining us from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. And TK, the LSU coaching staff, hopefully it's worth the wait, right? Jay Johnson going left coast with his hires. Jason Kelly, who's, a guy who makes you and I look skinny. Well, I don't know about that. Nobody makes you and I look skinny. But Jason Kelly, the pitching coach who was the 2018 Assistant Coach of the Year while at the University of Washington when they made it to the College World Series. Spent the last couple of years in Arizona State, in Tempe. Was going to be on the staff. Made the fatal mistake, or did he, of walking into the office to Willie Bloomquist, his new coach, his new boss, last Friday, and asked for permission to talk to LSU. They fired him on the spot. I don't know if Jay Johnson was going to hire him before he got fired, Tommy, but either way it worked.
Well, obviously, Jay Johnson was watching Sports Shorts Daily earlier this week when we said, come on, man, we need to get a coaching staff because he's put a lot of pieces in place. And all I know about Jason Kelly, it's not the guy that has the soccer place in St. Gabriel, no. But all I know about Jason Kelly is what I have read, on the Washington website, the Arizona website, the Wikipedia. And on paper, it looks good. I mean, it's all about winning. And here's what I think you got to look at. If Jay Johnson hired him, Jay Johnson knows he's at LSU. He knows he's in the SEC. He knows what the expectations are. If he hired this guy, it's because he thinks this guy can help him reach the goals that he wants to get. So you have to defer to him. You have to trust him that he's doing what he thinks is best to give them the best chance to have the highest level of success. Same thing with the guy from Dallas Baptist who we'll talk to in a minute. So, so Jason Kelly, again, I read a lot of stuff and I'm like, hey, okay, we'll see. And, time will tell.
If you throw out Jason Kelly's year last year he had at Arizona State where he lost like 3 or 4 of his top pitchers due to injury and the numbers were not good. They were one of the worst pitching staffs in the Pac-12, ERA way up there. But you throw that out. Things happen. They're freak years where everybody gets hurt. He's had a nice career. And the thing that I take comfort in, Tommy, is that Jay Johnson has coached against him for a long time, right? They've been in the same division at Washington and Arizona State. If they didn't know each other very well, just personally, he's seen it from a professional side going against that guy and seeing how he handles his pitchers, how they operate as a staff. He's got years and years of tape, if you will, in person against Jason Kelly. So that gives me some comfort in that he's very comfortable with Jason Kelly. He's recruited against him in the same state. He's recruited against him at Washington. He's coached against him. So if he doesn't have a good feel and he doesn't feel comfortable, I don't know what would. So Tony Tom will tell him this Jason Kelly hire. He's going to have to earn his money right away, Tommy, because he's got a lot of, pitchers with experience. Some of it good, some of it bad, but yet there's no dog back. There's no, ace. There's nobody to just hand the ball to and say, go get him. Maybe Mikhail Hilliard comes back, and if so, is Mikhail Hilliard really a number 1 or number 2 starter? If he is on your staff, that's not good. He should be a very good number 3 starter in the SEC, throwing 85 to 87 miles an hour. But that's really the guy as a starter that you have experience with. So Jason Kelly's going to, have a lot of new pitchers. By the way, LSU picked up a new guy, Eric Reiselman, a transfer from San Francisco. He's pitching in the Cape right now. Big, tall, right-handed pitcher. Radar gun lights up, 93, 96 miles an hour. The stats didn't light up last year for San Francisco. 30 innings pitched. He walked 30, Tommy, hit 10, and struck out 39 guys and had a 6.5 ERA. But as a starter, mostly, I'm sure they'll move him to the bullpen. He's got reliever kind of stuff, kind of 3/4 sidearm, not quite as sidearm as Rick Green was back in the day, but still, I think he'll move back to the back of the bullpen. But there's a new acquisition, a talented righty, Eric Reiselman. Keep an eye on him. He's in the Cape Cod this summer.
They also got a catcher. They got the McManus kid that used to catch at Delgado and was at Sanford. He's a graduate transfer, put up some good numbers at Sanford. He has switched in LSU. They needed a catcher badly. So, Jay Johnson's been very busy. I read that article by Scott Rabelais in The Advocate, right after he was hired today. He was very busy. Obviously has been. Now he's got some pieces to the coaching staff. He's got some players coming in, led by Jacob Berry, his All-American in Arizona. And he's putting some pieces together because, there were spots in that LSU lineup that had to be addressed, and he's addressing them.
It's going to be interesting to see. The draft starts next week to see.
Sunday. It actually starts Sunday.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what transpires in the draft, mainly from an LSU standpoint of Devin Fontenot and Gavin Dugas. That's really, to me, the 2 players that there's a chance that they could come back. And if they do, boy, that would bolster your team.
Yeah, and there's a couple of guys that are committed to LSU that are also catchers who are expected to go real high in the draft and probably won't land on campus. So, Jay Johnson's aware of all of this, and he's moving the pieces around, and he's going to put the puzzle together, and it's coming together more each day. And he knows what it's going to take to win in the SEC, and that's what he's going to put together, be it players, be it coaches, and you're going to have to get familiar with some new names and numbers if you're an LSU baseball fan for next year. But that's kind of typical when you get a coaching change like this one. You got a guy who was there for 15 years. All of a sudden, you got a completely new thing coming in. Nobody holding over from the previous staff other than, I guess, Bill Franquez, and we don't want Bill to go anywhere. So, it's going to be fun to watch. We said that a couple of weeks ago, and now we got a little bit, a few more pieces to the puzzle, so that's good.
The way this thing is played out, Tommy, it's a shame on a personal level for me because I'm friends with Nolan Cain. And Nolan Cain's got a great job and a great opportunity over there at Texas A&M, but I think Nolan Cain would have been on this staff. Knowing the type of person Jay Johnson is a little bit and how he's thinking and his mind works, I think at Nolan Cain, and there was nothing Nolan could do. He had the job offer a week before LSU hired Jay Johnson. He had to do what was best for he and his family. There was no assurances of anything. but I think he would have probably fit in on the staff. That said, they go get Dan Fitzgerald to do the job of Nolan Cain, the recruiting coordinator side. He came from Dallas Baptist, a guy who grew up in the Midwest and grew up in Minnesota, coached in Iowa, small college guy, much like the rest of the staff. But Dallas Baptist has been for 15, 20 years one of the, probably the mid-major in the country.
Well, and here's the other thing. He was at Dallas Baptist for 9 years. Ronnie, there are more people in Dallas-Fort Worth than there are in Louisiana, okay? So he's been there 9 years. He's established a network of junior college coaches, of high school coaches, and he knows pro scouts. Because Dallas Baptist has quietly become a really good program in the last 10, 15 years. So I got no problem with it. LSU recruits nationally anyway. So why not get a guy that's going to, who's been in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, very good baseball in Texas, because if you're a Louisiana kid, you want to play for LSU, you don't care that the coach was at Dallas Baptist. You want to go to LSU. There's lots of reasons why kids go to different schools. So, hey, let's let it play out. And again, I think you should be real optimistic at this point if you're an LSU baseball fan.
You mentioned, McManus, coming to LSU, switching over from Sanford. There you see Stephen Miller dropping a little knowledge, 2 for 3 with a bomb off Bednar, who was Mr. College World Series for Mississippi State. All right, so there's one position left to fill, and that's the volunteer coach job. And look, don't be fooled by the term volunteer. This is somebody who's going to make $100,000+. They're just going to get paid from a different pot. They're not getting paid from the LSU pot. They'll get paid from a baseball camp pot. But they have not named that. I would think maybe today, tomorrow, we'll get that person named. There's no reason to think it wouldn't be Mark Wanaka unless there's just something weird that happens. But Mark Wanaka is a guy that's they were teammates at Shasta College, he and Jay Johnson back in the day. He's been the volunteer hitting coach at Arizona since Jay Johnson pretty much got there. So, it makes sense that Wanaka would come unless there's just some family commitment or some other reason that we don't know about. But Wanaka is a little bit more than just a volunteer coach, assistant hitting coach. He's kind of the guy behind the guy and is highly thought of.
Yeah, and, I had a nice thread going underneath the post about Dan Fitzgerald on my Facebook page last night. And, we'll just say it looks like it's going to be Wanaka based on some of the comments there. And I looked him up this morning, and, you point out the relationship with Jay Johnson. So it won't be surprised if he ends up being a part of staff. And maybe we hear that today, tomorrow. Got a little bit left of this week. And, of course, the draft does start Sunday. So a lot of focus on that and the players that it will affect because of LSU. So we'll see if Wanaka, chief as they call him, as you pointed out to me, we'll see if we got a chief in the dugout.
Regardless, if Wanaka is indeed the volunteer assistant coach that's coming to help with the hitting, and then Fitzgerald would be a recruiting guy and a position player guy, Jason Kelly would be the pitching coach, and then Jay Johnson was a middle infielder himself, so much like Paul Maneri, who kind of worked with the middle infielders and stuff, I would assume Jay will do kind of emphasis on that. But if indeed Wanaka is the guy, then you're talking about a staff that has zero ties to the state of Louisiana, zero ties to the SEC. You don't see that very often these days in the SEC.
Well, we can flip that around. So the other coaches' staffs that have to play LSU, the book's not as big. They don't have as much info on tendencies and what coaches like to do and not do. So maybe that helps win a game or two out of 56. I don't know. But, it's the way it goes. We've seen plenty of coaches in the Power Five switch, from one part of the country to the other and have success. Weren't a lot of times with Nick Saban in Louisiana when he arrived at Baton Rouge and he put football back on the map here. No question about that. So you just, it's LSU. It's not where the coach is from, where the player's from. They're all going to wear purple and gold. They're all going to have the LSU hat on, and they're going to try to win baseball games for the Tigers and the Tiger fans.
Whenever you make a coaching hire, there's always like a recruiting shakeup, right? You got players that are committed that may not like the new staff. You got players that are committed that may like the new staff, and then you got other players that were committed elsewhere that are now all of a sudden going to consider LSU because you made a coaching change. There's a second baseman who's expected to be the lead top prospect coming out of Louisiana this next year. Second baseman out of Houghton, a left-handed hitter. Last name is Stovall. He's committed to Arkansas. So you wonder if a coaching change, and he doesn't sign until late fall. So you wonder if a coaching change puts LSU in the mix for a player like that who was not originally committed to LSU, is committed to Arkansas, but maybe felt slighted, maybe didn't like the old staff. I mean, who knows the situation there? But those are the types of things, much like when Les Miles was hired as the football coach, they were able to get Ryan Perrilloux away from Texas, when he was committed there under Nick Saban.
Well, Jay Johnson's been successful recruiting. So has Dan Fitzgerald. So they're going to get in the living room with these kids in Louisiana. They're going to be fine. Ronnie, I think too much gets read into this. Where's the guy from? Okay. Skip Burtman had no ties to Baton Rouge or Louisiana when he showed up, and obviously he's a Hall of Famer. So, that loyalty thing and that, where you from. Look, I pitched in Southeast a couple of years ago. I was wearing a Nichols hat. Somebody said, "Why would you wear a Nichols hat? That was y'all's rivalry." I said, "Well, because their coach gave me the hat. Nobody in Southeastern gave me a hat. I was wearing it." By the way, congratulations to Seth Thibodeau. He's now on the Raging Cajuns staff in Lafayette. He was dismissed as the Nichols coach. I texted Seth last night. He's fired up. He'll be a part of Deggs'
What's
staff.
his role? Do you know?
I don't know that. I just know he is on the staff. And when I texted him, I said, "Congratulations on landing at ULL." And he said, "Thanks a lot, TK." So I don't know the staff, but that just came out late last night. And on that topic, Nichols still hadn't hired a coach. But anyway, so look, don't worry about where these guys are from. They're going to wear purple and gold. They're going to have an LSU hat on. They're going to play at the box. Okay, they're going to, let it be. And let's hopefully see a great brand of baseball. And I think we will.
Trying to see if I can find anything on Seth Thibodeau.
I didn't mean to blindside you with that. It just kind of popped in my head.
I'm just trying to see.
I texted Seth last night.
Yeah, see if you can find out if I'm trying to look anywhere. I mean, is that public knowledge or is that just somebody told you?
Someone told me, but when I texted Seth, he said, "Thanks, TK." That was his response.
Yeah, I'm just saying they may not have put that out publicly yet. But I'm just
I just did.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to see what is he a coach? Is he the baseball ops? I mean, like what?
Let me see.
What is his role going to be over there? Let me see. Because I didn't know that there was going to be any shakeup on that staff.
Let's see. No, I'm not seeing anything. So it may not have been released by the Raging Cajuns yet. So maybe I jumped the gun. I don't know. But the only reason I did is because Seth answered me. I'm not going on that just because somebody else told me. And if Seth wouldn't have answered me, I wouldn't have brought it up. But
I just texted you.
I've been, people don't know this, but probably 7 or 8 times in the last couple of years, I was the radio voice of the Colonels when when that basketball, baseball season conflicts and they need a guy. Well, I did a bunch of games, some games against Utah one time and all of that. And then, of course, Tim Rebo, the head football coach, a lifelong friend of mine, former teammate. So, hopefully Seth will answer before we wrap this up. But, again, if you're an LSU baseball fan, the pieces to the puzzle are coming together, and I think you should be optimistic. That's my early call.
Well, I'm happy for him, man, that he was able to bounce back and stay in college baseball and not have to go sell.
His brother lives over in that area, doesn't he?
His brother Mike won a number of state championships and was a longtime coach at Turlings.
And Seth played at LSU Eunice, so he knows that area. Yeah,
I mean, but a lot of times in college baseball, it's not a given that you. It's not a given that you coach again. College baseball is really funny like that a lot of times where you could get let go or fired or something, and you may not be a baseball coach again. I mean, Sean Teague, who was a teammate of mine at LSU, guy was a grad assistant at Georgia, was a pitching coach at Georgia Southern for 5 or 6 years, did a great job there, was the pitching coach at Tulane in 04, I believe, 04, 05. and they made it to a super regional, lost at Cal State Fullerton, had a good year. But Rick Jones let him go to bring back Chad Suter, who had gone a year previous with Schlossnagle at UNLV, and Suter wanted to come back. And Rick Jones was, Suter was one of his favorite players and favorite coaches. And so he basically, even though Sean did a good job, got rid of Sean and put Suter back in his old spot. And Sean at that point, wife pregnant, had a house, had to get a job, and couldn't take that $25,000 a year job as an assistant coach coaching college baseball somewhere. Was a finalist for the Auburn job, and when he didn't get it, got into pharmaceutical sales, and that's where he is today. And of course, he helps a little bit with the Episcopal High School's baseball team and Baton Rouge as a CCP guy. But my point is that that's a guy who had the talent, the ability, was a very good college coach, but one little wiggle, he's out and then never gets back in. And that's how it happens a lot of times in college baseball. So glad to see that tide starting to change a little bit. Mitch Gaspard's the guy who got let go as a head coach. He's now at Louisiana Tech, doing a great job with them. Seth Thibodeau, as you mentioned, now on the UL Lafayette staff after getting let go at Nichols. So this is I'm good. I'm happy for those guys because it's well deserved.
Yeah, and Seth's a great guy. Like I said, I've known him for quite a while. We've hung out a little bit away from the ballpark. So, yeah, I'm happy for him. And, hey, the Raging Cajuns are getting a good guy in their program, no doubt about it. A guy who, like Fitzgerald from Dallas Baptist, he's got a network of people. He can pick the phone up and get info.
I'm really surprised Nichols hasn't hired a coach yet, huh? I mean, my goodness.
Well, I can tell you that there's a guy that's very interested, a guy that wants the job, Smoke Laval.
Right.
And he's on the list, and I don't know who else might be on the list. I talked to Smoke last week at length about it. I'll keep that conversation between he and I at this point. But, yeah, a little odd that hadn't happened yet down in Timothy.
Rumor is that Andy Cannizzaro turned the job down, or at minimum was in serious conversation with them about the job. But I'm just, at this point, tick, tick, tick. And with the transfer portal and everything else happening, you want to get a school like a Nichols could really make a move, right away in that transfer portal. You can go get guys and give them opportunities to play right away. And as opposed to having to go all fix yourself, through the high school ranks, you can go JUCO ranks. You could go transfer portal and give guys opportunities to play right away, like maybe a Collier Cranford potentially, or some other player that may potentially transfer. NBA Finals Game 2 tonight. TK had you on the Bucks getting double your money. That didn't work out on the money line. Game 1. Phoenix Suns 5-point favorite. Game 2. Do we know anything yet if the Greek Freak is playing?
I haven't read anything on that. You're right, they're a 5-point favorite. And, I took that shot on the money line the other night. It didn't work. But tonight, you would think Phoenix could come in at 5 points the way they won the game the other night. That pressure was on them that first game. Now there's no pressure on Phoenix because they got the first one. Pressure comes on Milwaukee to not go down 2-0. And, the whole thing about the Greek Freak at the free throws, that's become comical when they start counting because he's been guilty of, some people don't know it. You have 10 seconds to shoot a free throw after the ball's in your hands. And he's been called for violations a couple times in this year's playoffs because he believes in taking his time, blah, blah, blah. Where the Phoenix fans have started counting when he gets the ball 1, 2, 3, trying to get in his head, and they've done it. Now, he has slept it off saying it's all in good fun, but I guarantee it's in his head. I missed the other night, but if you're going to put a wager tonight, I think you got to take Phoenix and lay to 5.
You heard it right there. TK's going to get your money back if you were a loser in Game 1. Game 2 coming your way. By the way, NHL
hit the White Sox yesterday, the Giants last night, so maybe I could get 3 in a row. Got the Yankees today.
Tampa Bay Lightning win the NHL for the second season in a row.
Title town.
Yeah. Do you care?
Bucks, Lightning? No. Have you ever been to an NHL game? I know we all did the minor league hockey thing back in the day with the Baton Rouge Kingfish.
No, I have not. I have not done an NHL thing.
I was in Baltimore one time, and it was 40 miles to Washington. I got a bunch of guys. Said, let's go see this hockey game. They sell beer, and if we don't like it, we can walk out. Couldn't get anybody to go. That was the closest I came to getting that done. But, no, Tampa, they fired. It's a great sports town. Now they got a Super Bowl. They got the hockey title.
This is interesting. I don't follow hockey at all. I've probably followed it more in the 80s and 90s when Wayne Gretzky was with Edmonton, and then they had the giant trade to the Kings, and a little bit of Yager back in the day, a little bit of the Rangers with Messi. Not Messi. A little bit of the Rangers in the 90s. Anyway, 80s, 90s. I guess there was less sports on TV. You know, there's not as many channels, less sports on TV, so you'd watch it a little bit. But Tampa Bay Lightning were $19.5 million over the salary cap. Their best player, they put him on the IR at the beginning of the season, so he couldn't play during the regular season. But yet he got healthy for the postseason, helped them win a championship. But somehow they're not penalized. It's just that's the only thing I know about the whole deal. Very, very weird. But is NHL still the fourth biggest sport, Tommy, or is it something else? Has soccer?
Well, worldwide, soccer's the biggest sport. Worldwide, soccer is the biggest sport.
Well, I know worldwide.
But in America, obviously, it's football, baseball, and basketball. Wow, I guess you'd have to put it there because where we're at, we don't get the hockey fever that they have up in the Northeast and in the Midwest, so I'm going to assume it's fourth. I guess somebody could correct me, but like Ronnie, I remember being at a Baton Rouge Kingfish game with somebody who really knew hockey and had been to many NHL games. And I asked the question. I said, hey, I'm kind of impressed. These guys are flying around on an ice skate, talented and physical. I said, give me the comparison, Baton Rouge Kingfish to minor league baseball. So I know what I'm looking at. And he said it'd be kind of like high A or maybe the bottom end of double A baseball. Of course, then that put it in perspective for me that I'm looking at some guys that had some upside. Of course, the Kingfish had some guys on the way back down the ladder in the hockey world. But so that gave me a little perspective. That kind of makes, if I get the chance to go to an NHL game, if I'm in a town somewhere, like I said, they sell beer and you can walk out if you don't like it. I think I would go just so I could say I did it.
I enjoyed the minor league experience, but I enjoyed it not so much. I just enjoyed the ambiance and the entire thing. But I would say golf is the number 4 sport in the U.S. Not necessarily obviously there's more people go through the turnstiles when you talk about all the different teams in the cities. But as far as interest, I mean, more people are aware of golf. More people know Tiger Woods or DeChambeau is fighting with Koepka than they do anything about the NHL. Don't you agree?
All right, well, Ronnie, I just pulled up CBSSports.com. They got the little tags up front where you could go. They got NFL, NBA, MLB, golf, then NHL. So you might have hit the nail on the head. Yeah. Golf might be big a little bit. I would think CBS. They don't have equestrian up there first. They put who they know is getting the most hits.
And look, when we say football, we're talking college and pro.
Right,
when we say basketball, we're talking college and pro, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so you're right. Golf would be ahead of hockey in the United States.
Yeah. He's Tommy Krysan. I'm Ronnie Rantz. TK's over at Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Tell us about the specials today, Tommy.
Well, jambalaya is the lunch special. They just had a huge catering order go out the door. Ronnie, ready for this? Beef short ribs.
Ooh.
I got a video when Mike pulled them out of the oven and he was chopping them up. I'm going to post that on Instagram for Tremonti's Meat and Seafood a little bit. Ronnie, I'm like, Mike, is there one extra? Because, I want to eat it right now.
How much for one rib?
I said, no, but it was a part of a catering route. Beef short rib. Wow. Was that amazing to watch. But, hey, they got a huge meat sale coming up August 14th. Save the date because, look, you're going to be full-blown tailgating this year. You could get unbelievable deals on the 14th. Set yourself up for the house, for the tailgate this year, LSU, Southern, high school, whatever it is. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Jambalaya is the lunch special today. Connect with them on Facebook and Instagram. Both have lots of info on the specials and other things that are going on. Of course, the catering business is going through the roof. Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Jefferson Highway, right down the block from Parkview Baptist Church and School. If you haven't been in here, you need to stop by and check it out. They got the whiskey, the wine, the liquor, all the meats, the Chapman's Reserve meats. And as Mike says, good meat ain't cheap. Cheap meat ain't good. You need to check him out.
He's Tommy. I'm Ronnie. We'll be back with more Sports Shorts Daily presented by LeBear's Casino. We'll be back, Monday. We'll be back Monday from Court Street Cafe. We'll be at Court Street Cafe on Monday.